everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Small Steps History. I'm Reni.
I'm Fruji.
The basic idea of this podcast is to create something that not only helps to improve your English skills, but to give some extra. So I was wondering what I could create for students. Since I'm crazy about reading, I thought some fascinating or unknown stories of history could be enjoyable for others as well. Fruji, who's sitting next to me, helped to make it all real. Thank you so much for being here today. What can we know about you?
Hi everyone. As you may know by now, my name is Fruji. I've been working as a certified English teacher for almost 6 years now, and at the moment I'm studying translation and interpreting.
So, here we are and hope you will enjoy this podcast. Let's see what we have for today.
As one of the greatest men in history, Julius Caesar was not only a military leader, a conqueror, or a significant part of political life, but had a crucial function to change the fate of Rome.
At the end of this podcast, I'd like to highlight some common features between Caesar and Palpatine. Yes, with Palpatine from Star Wars, but first let's refresh our memory about Caesar's life.
One of the best-known aspects of his life was the triumvirate. To achieve his ambitious political goals, he allied with Crassus, who was said to be the richest man in Rome, and Pompey.
Caesar had a great influence on people. Basically, Crassus and Pompey had difficulties with each other. We could say they were rivals, but this man made them allies because he knew he needed both the money of Crassus and the political influence of Pompey. Caesar was undoubtedly an excellent strategist. To strengthen this ally, Pompey married Caesar's daughter Julia. Fun fact, it's said they had quite a good marriage.
Later, Caesar started the Gallic Wars in 58 BC. Since the Gallic tribes were divided into several kingdoms, Caesar won numerous victories using the so-called divide and conquer principle. In 52 BC, under the leadership of Vercingetorix, the Gallic troops were united against the Roman army. Despite the numerical superiority, Caesar defeated them again thanks to his excellent tactical decisions.
Caesar's Gallic campaign was certainly the largest since Alexander the Great's, and this victory was also more lasting. These conquered territories stayed part of Rome until the fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476 AC. One reason is that, unlike other ancient cultures, Romans welcomed the defeated people and offered them citizenship. This political step can be attributed to Caesar.
In the meantime, the triumvirate was over since Crassus died, just like Pompey's wife Julia, in labor. Caesar was planning to renew this ally, however Pompey rather sided with the Senate and issued an order for Caesar to return to Rome and face a trial. In response, in 49 BC, Caesar crossed the Rubicon River with his legion and started a civil war. From here, you may be familiar with the expression, the die is cast. We use it to express events that reach the point of no return. Finally, in 48 BC, Caesar defeated Pompey in an extremely short battle at Pharsalus. Today, this area occupies Greece. Despite the twice bigger army, Caesar proved his excellent efficiency again. After the victory, Caesar followed Pompey to Egypt, where his enemy got killed by order of the pharaoh Ptolemy XIII. The severed head was offered to Caesar, who considered this action to be very disrespectful, to put it politely. Therefore, he helped Cleopatra to power against her brother. That's how their romance started. Returning to Rome, he made himself dictator.
He was quite popular among citizens, which just made me remember something. Do you remember the scene from Star Wars when Palpatine declared dictator and people celebrated?
Actually, yes.
Padme said then,
"So this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause."
Basically, it was quite similar here, that some of the aristocracy saw his true intentions that deepened the gap between them and the dictator. But he didn't stop at this point. By this time, he got totally greedy and idolized himself.
His birth month, for example, was renamed to Julius. Its original name was Quintilis, which is the Latin version for the 5th month. His birthday, the 13th of July, was declared a national holiday, and Caesar was the first living person to appear on a coin in the history of Rome.
This ensured the citizens knew what their leader looked like all over the empire.
Fearing the worst, the Senate attacked him on the 15th of March in 44 BC. One of his heirs, Brutus, was included. They said it was not murder, but freeing the Republic. Here we can see how big that gap was.
His famous last words, "You too, Brutus," might only originate from William Shakespeare, since there are no ancient sources regarding these words. He might have covered his face with his cloak and said nothing, so this famous myth turns out to be false.
According to the traitor's calculations, the political power must have gone back to the Senate. However, a civil war broke out that ended up with Octavianus being the emperor who happened to stabilize the imperial system.
The real victor of these conflicts turns out to be Octavianus then. But as I mentioned earlier, we discovered some common features with Star Wars, so let's discuss them now. First of all, Caesar was a great warrior just like Palpatine, who was a Sith Lord himself.
Secondly, both men started their careers in republics. However, due to their strategic and political movements, they became dictators. As a result, both governments' form changed to monarchies. Also, I don't know whether you knew it or not, but Caesar had a love affair with Cleopatra. Meanwhile, Palpatine was in love with Sly Moore, who was a senior administrative aide and chief of the Galactic Republic, so also a great and powerful woman.
Last but not least, both of them were killed by their so-called sons. Caesar's murder was supported by Brutus and Palpatine's by Anakin.
Are these coincidences?
I don't know, but Julius Caesar seems not to be one of the greatest figures of history, but would be a perfect character for George Lucas. That's all for today. Thank you for your time. Hope you enjoyed the topic and see you in 2 weeks. Bye!
Bye!